Have you ever wondered why some people seem calm, grounded, and unshaken no matter what happens around them? They're not lucky. They're not born with a secret formula. They've simply learned one truth the modern world often forgets. You don't attract success, you become it. We live in a time where everyone is obsessed with attraction, attracting money, love, fame, followers, opportunities. Scroll through social media and you'll find endless gurus telling you to visualize what you want, to manifest it, to send your energy to the universe so it can send back your dream life. But if you've ever tried that long enough, you know it doesn't always work that way. You can think positively, you can feel the energy, but still lose the job, still get rejected, still feel lost. Why? Because Stoicism, one of the oldest schools of wisdom, teaches something very different. It tells us some things are within our control and some things are not. That one line from Epictetus can change your entire life. The problem with the so-called law of attraction isn't that it's entirely false. It's that it gives you a false sense of control. It whispers that the world will bend if you just believe hard enough. But Stoicism looks you in the eye and says, no, the world will not bend. You must. You can't command the universe to deliver, but you can command yourself to be steady, disciplined, resilient. Think about it. You can't control whether someone loves you back. You can't control if your boss promotes you. You can't control if your health suddenly fails or the market crashes. But you can control how you respond. You can control your discipline, your mindset, your character. That's the battlefield of life, the inner one. And here's the paradox. The more you chase things outside your control, the weaker you become. The more you master what's inside you, the stronger you grow. That's why the Stoics never begged for the world to be fair. They built themselves to stay firm even when it wasn't. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, lived through wars, plagues, and betrayal. He ruled millions of people yet wrote privately to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say you will attract strength. He said you will find it. Because strength isn't something that comes to you, it's something you uncover within yourself. So here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. Success has less to do with the universe responding to your desires and more to do with your ability to remain unshaken when it doesn't. It's not about constantly trying to attract what you want. It's about becoming someone who can handle whatever comes. Let me ask you this. How much of your peace depends on things you can't control? Your reputation? Your relationships? Your future? Be honest. Because the more your peace depends on unpredictable outcomes, the more fragile you are. But when your peace depends on your character, on your self-mastery, you become unbreakable. The Stoics would say, stop trying to control the wind. Learn to adjust your sails. Because the goal of life isn't to make the sea calm, it's to become a better sailor. Now, some people hear this and say, so I should just give up on my dreams? No, that's not what Stoicism teaches. It's not about abandoning your goals, it's about releasing your dependence on them for happiness. You can want something deeply and still accept that you may never get it. That's not defeat, that's freedom. Look around today, our society is addicted to outcomes. How fast are you growing? How much money do you make? How many followers do you have? We've turned comparison into a full-time job. But here's the thing. None of that is fully in your control. What is in your control is your effort, your honesty, your work ethic, your reactions. And when you focus there, you stop chasing approval and start building peace. Because at the end of the day, success isn't what you attract. It's who you become through the process. If you build yourself strong enough, calm enough, wise enough, it becomes a natural extension of who you are. I want you to pause for a moment and think about this. When was the last time you felt genuinely at peace, not because everything was going right, but because you were right within yourself? That's the feeling Stoicism leads you to. A peace that doesn't depend on luck, applause, or circumstances. We spend so much of our lives trying to make the outer world match our expectations. But Stoicism flips that. It asks you to make your inner world so steady that no outer storm can break it. So, the next time you feel anxious, disappointed, or frustrated, ask yourself, am I trying to control something that's not mine to control? If the answer is yes, breathe, let go, and return your focus inward. That's where your real power lies. Remember this, the Stoic doesn't attract success by hoping, wishing, or manifesting. He becomes success by mastering himself. And that mastery, that calm, grounded strength is the rarest and most magnetic force in the world. Because when you stop chasing, when you stop begging life to be different, and instead start becoming different yourself, something changes. People feel it. Opportunities notice it. Peace follows it. You stop vibrating desperation and start radiating dignity. You stop seeking control and start embodying it. That's the silent power of the Stoic path. You don't attract success. You become it. Have you ever noticed how often people say things like, if I just think positively, the universe will reward me? If I want it badly enough, it will come to me? That's the message we've been fed for years, the idea that if we focus our thoughts, if we manifest hard enough, everything we want will magically appear. But what if I told you, that's not strength, that's dependence? Because the truth is, no amount of wishing can control what lies beyond your reach. And deep down, you already know that. You can't force someone to love you. You can't guarantee success by simply desiring it. You can't make the world bend to your will, no matter how high your vibration is. The Stoics understood this long before social media made manifestation a trend. Epictetus, a philosopher who was once a slave, said something brutally honest. Some things are in our control and others are not. That's it. That's the whole foundation of Stoicism, and yet it's the exact opposite of what the modern world teaches. While the law of attraction tells you to command the universe, Stoicism tells you to command yourself. The Stoic doesn't chase illusions. He builds character. He doesn't beg the world to change. He adapts to it. He doesn't build castles in the sky. He builds strength in the soul. Think about it. How many times have you lost your peace because something didn't go as planned? Maybe you worked hard for a promotion that never came. Maybe you gave your heart to someone who didn't value it. Maybe you pinned your happiness on a dream that collapsed overnight. And when those things happened, you felt crushed. That's the hidden pain of modern life. We've tied our inner calm to external approval. We depend on likes, followers, compliments, money, and success to feel worthy. But Stoicism flips that upside down. It says, true power isn't found in controlling outcomes. It's found in controlling yourself when outcomes fail you. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, ruled during wars and plagues, yet he wrote words of peace in the middle of chaos. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Every sir. That's not a quote to admire, it's a challenge to live by. Ask yourself right now, how much of your daily peace depends on things you don't control? Is your mood determined by how others treat you? By how many people like your work? By whether you get what you want? If your peace can be stolen that easily, Stoicism teaches a different kind of success, one that doesn't depend on applause or outcome. To the Stoic, success isn't having everything you desire, it's desiring well. What does that mean? It means wanting the right things within your power. You can desire to act with integrity. You can desire to face challenges with courage. You can desire to speak the truth, even when it costs you something. Those desires can't be taken away, and that's real freedom. The Stoic still dreams, still works, still hopes, but he does so with open hands. He plays the game of life fully, but doesn't gamble his soul on the results. He puts in the effort, then lets go. Not because he's weak, but because he's wise. It's like planting a tree. You can choose the soil, water it, give it sunlight, but you can't force it to grow on your schedule. You can only do your part with care and discipline. The rest belongs to nature, to fate, The same is true for your life. You can control your actions, but not how the world reacts to them. And that realization, once you truly understand it, becomes your shield. When people disappoint you, you stay calm. When plans fall apart, you stay centered. When praise turns to silence, you stay consistent. Because you know your worth doesn't depend on the noise outside, it's rooted in the discipline within. That's why Stoicism feels like rebellion in today's world. Because everything around us says, get more. But the Stoic says, be whole. He measures his strength not by what he gains, but by what he can let go of without losing himself. So the next time you hear someone say, just manifest it, remember, the Stoic doesn't manifest. He masters. He doesn't ask life to be easier. He asks himself to be stronger. He doesn't pray for calm seas. He learns how to sail through storms. And when you start living that way, something amazing happens. You stop feeling like a victim of fate and start becoming a student of it. You stop begging the world to give you peace and start realizing you've had it within you all along. That's the quiet revolution Stoicism offers. You don't need to attract success. You need to align your life with reason, virtue, and courage, and success becomes the natural echo of that alignment. So pause for a second, breathe, and ask yourself, what can I control right now? Because that question, simple as it sounds, is the start of every transformation worth making. Have you ever noticed how much energy we waste trying to control things that never belong to us? The weather, the economy, other people's moods, their opinions, their reactions. We obsess, we stress, we argue, but at the end of the day, none of it bends to our will. That's the tragedy of modern life. We're fighting the wrong battles because the real battlefield isn't out there, it's inside. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, drew a line that could save anyone from years of frustration. He said, some things are in our control and some things are not. Simple, brutal, liberating. Everything you face in life falls into one of those two categories, and most of your suffering comes from mixing them up. Let's break it down. You control your decisions. You control your interpretations, the way you see events. You control your reactions, what you choose to do next. You control your standards, the kind of person you decide to be. That's it. That's your circle of power. But outside that circle lies everything else. The weather, the traffic, your boss's mood, the economy, the loyalty of others, the opinion of strangers. You don't control those things, you influence them, sure, but you don't own them. And yet, most people spend their whole lives trying to manage the outer circle, begging reality to obey them. That's why they burn out. That's why they stay anxious. Because when your peace depends on something you can't control, you've already lost it. It's like trying to calm the ocean by yelling at the waves. The Stoic path flips this completely. It says, stop fighting the storm. Learn to steer the ship. I didn't now one. Let's make it real. Imagine you're applying for a job. You prepare your resume. You research the company. You practice your answers. That's your realm of control. But whether they hire you or not, that's their decision. If you tie your self-worth to that outcome, or imagine posting something meaningful online, something that comes from your heart. Some people will applaud, others will mock, some will ignore. Are there reactions within your control? No. Your responsibility ends at your intention and your integrity. If you spoke from principle, you've already succeeded. The rest is just noise. This is where Stoicism becomes practical. It trains you to separate the controllable from the uncontrollable before you act. Because clarity is freedom. When you know what's truly yours to shape, you stop wasting energy on what's not. Most of our suffering comes not from reality, but from our refusal to accept it. We rage at outcomes. We plead with circumstances. We argue with fate, and in doing so, we abandon our composure. But when you shift that focus inward, something powerful happens. You become anti-fragile. You stop breaking under pressure. Pressure sharpens you. You stop fearing chaos. Chaos becomes your training ground. That's the Stoic secret. He knows exactly where his power ends, and that's why he never feels powerless. Think about this: if someone insults you, do you control their words? No, but you control what those words mean to you. You decide whether they enter your heart or dissolve at the edge of your awareness. The Stoic doesn't deny emotion, he directs it. He feels anger, disappointment, hurt, but he refuses to become their slave. That's not coldness. That's discipline. It's emotional armor, not to hide, but to stay steady when the world shakes. Now let me ask you, how many of your daily frustrations come from the outer circle? Traffic that makes you late, a partner who doesn't say the right thing, a coworker who takes credit, a post that doesn't get enough likes. And how many of those actually belong to you? You can't control the traffic, but you can leave earlier. You can't control how they treat you, but you can control your response. You can't control the results, but you can control the effort. You can't control outcomes, but you can control your outlook. Every time you redirect focus to what's within your reach, you reclaim power from what's not. And the more you do that, the calmer you become. Because peace isn't the absence of problems, it's the presence of clarity. Here's a simple exercise you can try today. The next time something frustrates you, stop and ask yourself 2 questions. Is this within my control? If not, why am I letting it control me? You'll be surprised how many storms disappear the moment you stop trying to own them. The Stoic doesn't chase control. He practices mastery of thought, reaction, and meaning. He doesn't collapse when plans fail. He doesn't panic when the world changes. He adjusts. And with each test, he grows tougher, sharper, calmer. Because every situation, good or bad, is an invitation to practice the art of self-governance. So remember this: you can't command the wind, but you can set your sail. You can't stop the storm, but you can steer through it. You can't control what happens, but you can always control what it makes of you. That's where freedom lives. That's where peace begins. And that's the true battlefield, not the world outside you, but the one within. Let's be honest, desire runs the world. Every decision, every plan, every dream starts with wanting something. But here's the question no one asks. Are your desires working for you or against you? Most people never stop to think about that. They chase, they crave. They imagine life will finally make sense once they get that job, that person, that house, or that moment of recognition. But the moment they get it, another desire takes its place, and the cycle begins again. It's like trying to quench thirst with salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. The Stoics saw this long ago. They said the problem isn't that we desire, it's how we desire. When your desires clash with reality, but when they align with nature, with the way life actually unfolds, you find peace. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully: love only what happens, what was destined. Now, that doesn't mean you just give up and accept everything passively. It's not about surrendering to fate, it's about flowing with it. There's a huge difference between weakness and wisdom. To love what happens is the highest discipline. It's training your mind to stop fighting the world and start working with it. Because the truth is, nature doesn't bend to our fantasies. It doesn't care about our timelines, our expectations, or our comfort zones. But it always responds to our effort, our preparation, and our adaptability. Think of it like surfing. You can't control the waves, but you can learn how to ride them. You can resist and crash, or you can adapt and glide forward with grace. So what does it mean practically to align your desires with nature? It means wanting the right things, things that depend on you. Take love, for example. You can't force someone to love you back. You can't control their emotions, their timing, or their readiness. But you can control how you love with honesty, integrity, and kindness. That's your domain. The Stoic doesn't beg for affection. He practices it. He doesn't demand love. He becomes lovable. Or take success. Society tells you to crave the title, the recognition, the applause. But that's a trap, because those things depend on others. The Stoic redefines success as excellence in effort. It's not about the outcome. It's about how you show up, day after day, giving your best work, even when no one is watching. You see, when you shift your focus from results to virtue, something changes inside you. You stop being a beggar of fortune and start becoming a builder of character. You stop asking, "Why isn't life giving me what I want?" and start asking, "Am I living in a way that deserves it?" That's where freedom begins. Let me share a simple daily practice, one that can quietly transform your entire mindset. Each morning, before you start your day, ask yourself, what do I want today that depends only on me? Maybe it's the desire to speak truthfully. Maybe it's the desire to stay patient with people who test your limits. Maybe it's the desire to work diligently, to focus fully, to act with integrity no matter the outcome. Those are desires nature approves of because they're in your hands. You don't need perfect conditions to fulfill them, you just need will and awareness. But here's the magic. When you start wanting only what's within your control, you become unstoppable. Disappointment loses its grip. Frustration fades because nothing essential can be taken from you anymore. We live in a culture obsessed with manifesting, with trying to pull outcomes from the universe through thought and intention. But the Stoic doesn't manifest. He aligns. He aligns his will with reality, his effort with reason. And the result? He becomes calm, resilient, and deeply effective. Not because life got easier, but because he stopped fighting how life works. Nature rewards those who cooperate with it, not those who demand from it. You can see this everywhere in health, in work, in relationships. When you resist reality, you suffer. When you adapt, you thrive. It's not about lowering your standards. It's about elevating your perspective. Instead of demanding that life serve your desires, you learn to desire what serves your growth. That's how you stay powerful in a world that constantly changes. Let's be real, you will still have dreams. You will still have goals. Stoicism doesn't tell you to stop wanting. It tells you to want wisely, to desire things that are both meaningful and within reach, to want with purpose, not desperation. Because when you want what's right, courage, integrity, wisdom, patience, life can't take that from you. And ironically, when you let go of forcing outcomes, you often start achieving more than ever before. Not because the universe rewards you, but because your energy is no longer wasted on resistance. You're moving in rhythm with reality, not against it. So ask yourself this: are your desires aligned with nature, or are they at war with it? Do you crave things that depend on others, or do you focus on what depends on you? Because that difference, that subtle shift, is the line between constant suffering and lasting peace. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor who could command armies and yet practiced humility, knew this truth deeply. He wrote, "A man's true delight is to do the things he was made for." Isn't 10. That's it, the secret to harmony. Not forcing life to fit your plan, but letting your plan fit life's nature. When you start wanting only what's yours to shape your actions, your thoughts, your virtues, you stop feeling like life is against you. You start realizing it's been training you all along. And that's when you become truly powerful, not by conquering the world, but by conquering yourself. We live in a world that measures wealth by numbers, bank accounts, cars, titles, houses. But let me ask you this: if all of it disappeared tomorrow, would you still feel rich? Most people wouldn't, because what they call wealth isn't really theirs, it's rented comfort. It can be taken, lost, stolen, or replaced. But Stoicism teaches a different kind of prosperity, one that no storm, no betrayal, no crisis can ever touch. That's inner wealth, and it begins with a simple truth. Wealth is peace of mind. You can wear luxury, drive success, and still be bankrupt inside. But a calm mind, a disciplined spirit, and a clear conscience, that's the kind of richness no money can buy. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, understood this better than anyone. He wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Think about that. Poverty isn't a lack of possessions, it's a lack of contentment. It's the endless hunger for more recognition, more validation, more comfort. And the hungrier you get for things you can't control, the emptier you become. So how do we build this inner wealth, this unshakable kind of prosperity? The Stoics left us a practical blueprint. Let's break it down. 1. Audit your thoughts. Every day your mind runs thousands of thoughts. Some fuel you, others drain you. You must learn to separate the two. Ask yourself, is this thought serving me or sabotaging me? A thought that says, I can't handle this, that's dead. A thought that says, this is hard, but I'll endure, that's an investment. You can't build inner wealth with self-defeating ideas. You have to manage your mental economy the same way you'd manage your finances, with discipline, awareness, and honesty. The richest minds aren't those that know the most. They're the ones that think clearly. 2. Practice negative visualization. Sounds strange, right? But this is one of Stoicism's most powerful exercises. Imagine losing what you value, not to cause fear, but to awaken gratitude. Picture your health fading, your loved ones far away, your comforts gone. Then open your eyes and look at what's still here. That's gratitude, sharpened by realism. When you live with this awareness, you stop clinging so desperately. You stop taking people and moments for granted. And suddenly, ordinary things feel like gifts. It's not morbid, it's freeing. Because the more you accept that everything is temporary, the deeper your appreciation becomes. 3. Choose voluntary discomfort. Comfort has become our new cage. We crave convenience so much that we've forgotten the strength born from struggle. The Stoics trained themselves to stay free from comfort's grip. They'd sleep on hard beds, walk instead of ride, skip luxuries for a day, not to punish themselves, but to prove something important. I can live without it. It's Sitterban. When you willingly face discomfort, fear loses its power over you because you've already tested yourself. You've discovered that you can endure. And when life eventually forces discomfort on you, you're not shocked. You're ready. That's real wealth, the kind that no crisis can bankrupt. 4. Act by principle, not by impulse. This is the foundation of all Stoic prosperity. To be rich in spirit, you must be loyal to your values. Speak the truth, even when it costs you. Keep your word, even when no one's watching. Choose what's right, not what's easy, because every time you do, you make a deposit into your inner account. Integrity compounds just like interest, and over time, it turns into something priceless. When your wealth is built on virtue, you don't fear losing anything external because your real treasure lives inside you. 5. Share your wealth without losing it. Here's the beauty of inner prosperity. The more you give, the more you have. A person full of peace spreads peace. A person full of clarity inspires clarity. When your soul is rich, you don't drain when you give, you expand. You can listen without judgment, help without ego, lead without domination. This is the highest currency of all, the ability to uplift others without emptying yourself. That's what it means to be truly rich. But don't be fooled, this path isn't easy. It takes daily discipline. You'll slip, you'll forget, you'll find yourself comparing, craving, doubting, and that's okay. Because each time you return to your principles, you grow stronger. You're not aiming for perfection, you're aiming for alignment. With every act of honesty, patience, and restraint, you polish your inner wealth like gold. So tonight, ask yourself, what did I earn today that money can't buy? Was it patience in a hard moment? Was it kindness when it wasn't deserved? Was it self-control when you could have lashed out? Those are your real profits. They don't rust. They don't vanish. They travel with you even into your final breath. Because at the end of the day, the richest person isn't the one who owns the most. It's the one who needs the least. So stop chasing the world's idea of wealth. Start building your own. Feed your mind with truth. Train your body for resilience. Nurture your spirit with virtue. And when life asks you what you own, you'll answer quietly. Peace, discipline, integrity. That's my fortune. Have you ever felt like life keeps testing you, one challenge after another? No break, no pause button. You fix one problem. You wonder, why does it have to be this hard? A des for cn cu workel by den. But what if I told you it's not a punishment? It's a process. The Stoics believe that the obstacle isn't blocking your path. It is your path. Let that sink in. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This isn't just poetic. It's brutally practical. He's saying that what you're trying to avoid, the pain, the difficulty, the setback, is actually the exact thing shaping you into who you're meant to be. Life is a forge, and adversity is the fire. It doesn't burn to destroy you, it burns to refine you. Think about gold. Before it shines, it must face heat and pressure. The same goes for you. Every blow life gives is not there to break you, but to reveal what's real. Your core, your resilience, your discipline, your courage. Let's bring this idea down to earth. You lose your job. At first, it feels like the ground has disappeared under your feet. But after the shock fades, something begins to happen. You start re-examining your skills, your purpose, your values. Maybe you realize you'd been coasting, or maybe you discover a strength you'd been neglecting. You start to rebuild stronger, sharper, wiser. That's not a setback. That's a forge. Or maybe someone betrayed your trust, a friend, a partner, a colleague. You feel crushed, maybe even angry. But that pain, too, carries a message. It's teaching you boundaries, teaching you self-respect, teaching you how to remain noble even when others lose their integrity. A Stoic doesn't let betrayal turn him bitter. He lets it polish his character. He reminds himself, their choices are theirs. My response is mine. You see, we can't control what happens, but we can always control what it makes of us. That's where freedom begins. That's where growth starts. Every obstacle is an invitation to practice virtue, patience, courage, humility, discipline. You don't grow through comfort. You grow through confrontation. You don't become wiser by avoiding pain. You become wiser by facing it consciously. And that's what separates those who crumble from those who rise, not luck, not talent, but mindset. So when something goes wrong, practice this simple Stoic ritual. Pause. Breathe. Ask one question. What is this here to teach me? Because every problem carries a lesson. Every loss hides a training opportunity. And every difficulty, no matter how painful, can become a doorway if you're willing to look for it. But let's be honest, it's not easy. When life hits, our first instinct is to resist, to complain, to blame. We say, why me? But the Stoic shifts that question to, why not me? Why should I be exempt from what every human before me has faced? Loss, failure, disappointment, pain. Why not use this challenge to train myself to sharpen my mind, strengthen my will, and test my principles? That's not resignation, because you stop waiting for life to be easy. You start preparing yourself to be strong. And here's something most people don't realize. Hardship is the best teacher you'll ever have, because it's honest, it doesn't flatter you, it doesn't let you hide. It shows you exactly where you're weak and gives you a chance to fortify it. Every difficulty becomes a mirror. Do you panic or stay calm? Do you quit or adapt? Do you curse life or cooperate with it? Those answers define your character far more than your achievements ever will. Let's look at voluntary hardship. Something the Stoics practiced intentionally. They would choose the hard road, take the cold bath, walk instead of ride, delay pleasure, face uncomfortable truths. Why? Because they knew that comfort breeds fragility, but struggle breeds strength. If you only do what's easy, you become weak. If you regularly do what's hard, you become unshakable. So here's a challenge for you. This week, do one thing that tests your patience or discipline. Take the longer route. Have the uncomfortable conversation. Sit with your emotions instead of escaping them. Watch how it changes you. You'll realize something beautiful. The harder path often leads to the higher ground. I'll leave you with this. You can spend your life wishing for calm seas, or you can learn how to sail through storms. You can waste energy hoping obstacles disappear, or you can grow strong enough to face them head on. Because no one escapes adversity, but not everyone uses it. The Stoic sees difficulty not as an interruption to his journey, but as a vital part of it. He doesn't say, "I'll start living once things get easier." He says, "I'll live well even when things are hard." So the next time life hits you with something unexpected, you are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are being shaped. You are being refined. Don't ask for lighter burdens. Ask for a stronger back. Don't wish for an easy road. Wish for the resilience to walk any road. Because in the end, the obstacle isn't in your way. The obstacle is the way. We live in a world obsessed with knowing. Everyone reads, listens, scrolls, learns. We collect quotes, philosophies, self-help mantras, and Stoic wisdom, like trophies on a mental shelf. But here's the hard truth. Knowing means nothing until you act, or as the Stoics would say, to know and not to do is not to know. Stoicism isn't a theory to be admired, it's a discipline to be lived. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations to sound wise. He wrote them to remind himself to practice wisdom every single day. Because knowledge without action is like a sword that's never drawn, polished, but useless. Every day, you wake up and enter a battlefield. But the enemy isn't out there, it's within. It's your comfort, your procrastination, your laziness, your craving for pleasure, and your fear of discomfort. You know what needs to be done, but something whispers, not yet, maybe later. That whisper is the real opponent. The Stoic fights that battle every day, not once in a while, not when life feels easy, but every single morning. He doesn't wait to feel ready. He doesn't wait for motivation. He moves because the act itself is the training. That's the Stoic code. Don't wait for the mood. Create the movement. Epictetus was born a slave. He didn't have comfort, but he had one thing the world couldn't take: discipline. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Think about that. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. Freedom is doing what's right even when you don't want to. Discipline is not punishment. It's liberation. Because the more you master yourself, the less the world can control you. The undisciplined person is ruled by impulses. They eat what they crave, say what they shouldn't, skip what's hard. They may feel free in the moment, but they're chained by habit. The disciplined person may seem restricted, waking up early, sticking to principles, saying no often, but in truth, they're the only one truly free because they're not controlled by their emotions. That's why the Stoics saw discipline as the crown of self-mastery. Ask yourself this: how many times have you known the right thing to do but didn't do it? You knew you should exercise, but hit snooze. You knew you should apologize, but let pride win. You knew you should start that project, but waited for the perfect moment. We all do it, but the Stoic refuses to let that cycle define him. He understands that every choice either strengthens or weakens his character. You're always building a habit. The only question is, which one? Here's a perspective shift that can change everything. Don't see discipline as deprivation. See it as preparation. Every moment of restraint builds your resilience. Every act of consistency sharpens your focus. Every time you resist temptation, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than you thought. When you do the hard thing, you earn trust not from others, but from yourself. And that's the kind of confidence no external achievement can replace. But discipline isn't glamorous. It's not about shouting affirmations or writing big goals. It's about quiet repetition, the boring, unsexy daily grind that no one sees. It's the early morning run when the bed feels too warm. It's the honest conversation when silence would be easier. It's sticking to your principles when no one would blame you for quitting. That's where real strength is built, in the small, private moments where no one's watching. Because discipline doesn't announce itself, it shows itself. In your habits, in your calmness, in the way you carry yourself through chaos. So, how do you practice Stoic discipline? Start small, but start now. You don't need a grand plan. You need momentum. Pick one thing. Wake up 30 minutes earlier, take a cold shower, finish what you start, keep one promise to yourself today. Because momentum is contagious. Once you begin, the energy of action replaces the fog of overthinking. And that's the secret the Stoics understood. Action clears the mind faster than thought ever will. When you move, clarity follows. When you act, motivation grows. When you stay still, fear multiplies. So take the step, even if it's small, even if it's uncomfortable, even if your emotions scream, "Not today." That's the moment you must move most. Discipline isn't about perfection, it's about direction. Every act of self-control is a step closer to freedom. Every time you choose effort over ease, you strengthen your mind's command over the body. The Stoic doesn't chase results. He builds consistency. He doesn't need applause. He has self-respect. He doesn't ask for an easier life. He trains for a stronger one. And that's what you're doing every time you act with discipline. You're not punishing yourself, you're forging yourself. So the next time you feel lazy, distracted, or afraid, remember this. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to begin. Because the person you want to be calm, powerful, unshakable, isn't waiting somewhere in the future. They're built right now, in the moment you choose action over avoidance. That's Stoicism in motion. That's the philosophy alive. Not on paper, but in your blood. Discipline is freedom, and self-mastery is the crown. Love is one of life's greatest teachers and also one of its hardest tests. It gives us the highest highs and the deepest lows. But here's something most people never realize. Stoicism doesn't tell you not to love. It teaches you how to love deeply, fully, wisely, without losing yourself in the process. The Stoics never saw love as weakness. They saw it as strength when practiced with awareness. Epictetus once said, "When you kiss your child, your friend, your wife, remind yourself that you love a mortal not because you should fear their loss, but because you should cherish their presence." That sounds heavy, right? But it's actually one of the most freeing truths you can live by. Because when you understand that everything you love is temporary, you stop taking it for granted. You stop clinging and start appreciating. Let's be honest. Losing someone hurts, whether it's through distance, breakup, betrayal, or death. It feels like a part of you is being ripped away. You replay the memories, the words, the what ifs. You tell yourself, "I can't imagine life without them." But here's the paradox. You were never meant to own another person. You were meant to experience them, to walk together for a time, and then, if life demands it, to let go with grace. The Stoic doesn't suppress pain, he honors it. He allows himself to feel the loss fully, but he doesn't drown in it. He knows that grief is a part of love, the final proof that what you had truly mattered. Think about it this way. If you love someone only as long as they stay, was it ever love or was it possession? True love doesn't say, "You are mine." It says, "I am grateful that I get to walk beside you for however long life allows." They deference $7 with Epictetus. That mindset changes everything. When you love through gratitude instead of control, you no longer live in fear of losing, because you understand that love was never yours to keep, only yours to give. Seneca wrote, "He who gives thanks for what he has, possesses it still when he has lost it." What he meant is powerful. The memory of love, the lessons it brought, the growth it inspired, those things are permanent. They become part of your soul. So when someone leaves, instead of asking, ask, "What did I learn from loving them?" Maybe they taught you patience. Maybe they showed you what respect should look like. Maybe they revealed what you deserve or what you must never accept again. Even pain carries wisdom if you face it without resentment. Here's a thought experiment, one the Stoics practiced often. When you look at the people you love, imagine, just for a second, that life could change tomorrow. Not to make you sad, but to make you present. Would you speak more gently today? Would you forgive faster? Would you hold them longer? Not out of fear, but out of gratitude. That's what the Stoics meant when they said, Memento mori. Remember you will die. It's not morbid, it's a reminder to love now, to cherish now, to be kind now, because later isn't promised. We live in a world that confuses attachment with affection. We say, I can't live without you, as if dependency were devotion. But dependency is not love, it's fear wearing a romantic mask. A Stoic loves differently. He loves with open hands, not clenched fists. He says, I love you not because I need you, but because I choose to. As Cielan. That's real love. Love that is free, mature, and fearless. Because when you can give your heart without demanding control, you're no longer a prisoner of emotion, you're a master of it. And this applies beyond relationships. It's about how we relate to everything we value: our health, our youth, our career, even our possessions. When you build your peace on things that can vanish, your peace will vanish too. But when you build your peace on character, wisdom, and gratitude, Marcus Aurelius said it best: receive without pride, let go without attachment. That's the essence of freedom: to love fiercely, live fully, and release gracefully. So when the time comes to say goodbye to a person, a phase of life, or even a dream, thank it for happening at all, because gratitude turns what you had into something eternal. Here's a practical way to live this out. Each night, before you sleep, think of one person or one thing you're grateful for, not because it's perfect. Say to yourself, I'm thankful I got to experience this, even if it doesn't last forever. Do that, and you'll notice something subtle but profound. The more you practice gratitude, the less you fear loss. And the less you fear loss, the more deeply you're able to love. That's the Stoic secret. Not to harden your heart, but to deepen it. Not to feel less, but to feel wisely. Not to avoid love, but to rise above attachment. Because love without wisdom becomes obsession, but love with wisdom becomes peace. So the next time life takes something or someone away from you, don't say, it's over. Do. It is no any way to bill it anyway dat, and it mother words you work fluent is by the world. Say, it was a gift. Be grateful for the laughter, the lessons, the moments that shaped you. They are still yours, carved into your memory, engraved into your soul. And remember this: you can love deeply and still stand tall when it ends. You can grieve, but not crumble. You can let go, but not become cold. That's what it means to live in love, the Stoic way. Because real freedom is not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. Let me ask you something honest. Where does your mind spend most of its time? For many of us, it's trapped in one of two prisons: the past, replaying regrets, mistakes, and what-ifs, or the future, rehearsing worries that haven't even happened yet. We spend so much of our lives everywhere except the only place where life actually happens, the present moment. The Stoics called this the only battlefield that's real, because the past is gone untouchable. The future hasn't arrived unpredictable. The now is the only thing you can truly act within, think within, and find peace within. Epictetus said it beautifully: no man is ever made unhappy by the present moment, only by his memory of the past or his fear of the future. Think about that. Your suffering today isn't caused by what's happening right now, it's caused by where your mind keeps wandering. We live in a world that constantly pulls us out of the moment. Your phone buzzes, your feed scrolls, your thoughts jump between what you should have done and what might go wrong next week. You're busy everywhere except here. But here's the truth: peace isn't hidden in some future achievement or buried in a perfect memory. It's waiting in this breath, this step, this conversation right now. The Stoics weren't monks escaping reality. They were warriors, rulers, teachers living in chaos, leading empires, facing wars and betrayal. Yet they practiced presence as if their sanity depended on it, because it did. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, wrote to himself, confine yourself to the present. He didn't mean ignore the past or future. He meant, don't drown in them. He knew that when your mind keeps wandering into yesterday or tomorrow, you lose your grip on today, and with it, Because right now is where decisions happen. Right now is where courage lives. Right now is where character is built. So, how do we return to the present in a world designed to distract us? It begins the moment you wake up. Most people open their eyes and instantly reach for their phones, diving straight into someone else's world, someone else's timeline, someone else's problems. But a Stoic begins differently. He wakes, breathes, and asks, what can I control today? How can I meet whatever comes with reason instead of reaction? That's all. Not what might happen next week. Not what went wrong last night. Just this day. And that's enough. Every morning is a training ground for your mind. Every choice is a small act of mastery. When someone cuts you off in traffic, that's your battlefield. When plans fall apart, that's your battlefield. When anxiety whispers that you're behind, that's your battlefield too. The Stoic doesn't run from these moments, he meets them, one by one, with calm awareness. He asks, what's happening now? And what's within my control now? When you train that muscle daily, you stop being dragged around by your emotions. You become steady, not because life slows down, but because you do. Here's the paradox. When you stop rushing into the future, you actually start creating it. When you stop clinging to the past, you finally learn from it. When you anchor yourself in the present, your actions become sharper, your mind clearer, your heart lighter. Presence doesn't mean you stop planning. It means you stop panicking. It doesn't mean you forget the past. It means you stop living there. It's the balance between awareness and acceptance. You prepare for tomorrow, but you live in today. You honor yesterday, but you move forward now. Think about it like this. Imagine you're holding a glass of water. It's not heavy at first, right? But if you hold it for 5 minutes, your arm starts to ache. Hold it for an hour, and it burns. Hold it for a day, and your arm goes numb. That's what carrying the past and future feels like. The weight isn't unbearable. It's the constant holding that breaks you. Put the glass down. Breathe. Come back to now. The Stoics knew that presence wasn't a luxury, it was survival. Because a distracted mind is a weak mind, but a present mind? That's unshakable. When you're here, truly here, your problems shrink to their actual size. You stop imagining 10 possible disasters and deal with the one reality in front of you. You stop saying, what if? And start asking, what now? And in that simple shift, your life changes. Here's something you can practice starting today. Whenever you feel anxiety creeping in, what's happening right now? What's within my control? What's the next right action I can take? That's it. Not what might happen next month. Not what others might think. Just the next step. In this moment. Because all strength is built now. All peace is found now. All life is lived now. So maybe today, slow down. Notice the sunlight. Listen before you reply. Eat without checking your phone. Breathe as if this breath is the only one that matters. Because it is. You don't need to escape your past. You don't need to predict your future. You just need to be fully alive where your feet are. Because the Stoic doesn't chase peace, he returns to it. And peace, my friend, has always been right here, in the power of the present moment. In the end, what do you want to be remembered for? Your name on a screen? Your voice echoing through noise? Or the quiet strength of your character felt by those who met you, long after your words were forgotten? The Stoics didn't chase fame. They pursued virtue. They understood something the modern world has forgotten, that real greatness doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need applause. It only needs integrity. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. Yet he never wrote to be famous, he wrote to be decent. His meditations weren't meant for the world. They were notes to himself, reminders to stay humble when praised and calm when insulted. He knew that history might remember his power, but only his character would make it worth remembering. That's the quiet paradox of Stoicism. The less you chase recognition, the more you deserve it. We live in an age where noise has become currency. Everyone wants to be seen, heard. Social media rewards volume, not virtue. People confuse visibility with value. But tell me, have you ever met someone who didn't talk much, yet their presence spoke louder than any speech? Someone who didn't need to argue because their calmness was the argument? That's the kind of strength the Stoic cultivates. He doesn't need to dominate a room. He simply embodies what others are still pretending to be. Silence isn't emptiness, it's discipline. It's knowing when to speak, when to act, and when to walk away. Seneca once wrote, "What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." That line carries more weight today than ever. Because in a world obsessed with image, the Stoics' quiet consistency becomes revolutionary. You don't have to post your virtue. You just have to live it. You don't need to prove your worth. You just need to protect your peace. And here's the truth. Noise fades, but character endures. Every trend, every headline, every burst of popularity all vanish like smoke. But the way you live, the way you treat others, the way you hold your principles when no one's watching, that's your real legacy. It's not about being remembered by millions. It's about being respected by yourself. Because there's something profoundly powerful about a person who doesn't need validation. Who wakes up every day not asking, "Who's watching me?" but asking, "Am I living in alignment with what I believe?" That's the quiet confidence that no crowd can give and no criticism can take away. Think of the greatest people you admire. Not just the famous, but the noble, the steady, the wise. Many of them lived and died without applause, but their example still moves us centuries later. Why? Because virtue leaves echoes. You may not remember their words, but you feel their presence in the way they lived. That's the kind of legacy worth building, one that doesn't depend on memory, but on meaning. And silence, real, intentional silence, is where that legacy begins. When the world screams for your reaction, the Stoic pauses. He doesn't speak to win arguments. He speaks to create understanding. He doesn't act to prove superiority. He acts to serve truth. That's how the Stoic stands out, not by shouting louder, but by standing stiller. Because silence isn't weakness, it's the mark of mastery. Only the insecure need to announce themselves constantly. The wise let their conduct announce them. There will come a day when your name won't trend, your voice won't echo, and your image won't matter. But if you've lived with integrity, if you've spoken truth, helped quietly, and held your ground with grace, your life will still shine in the memory of others. Not because you were loud, but because you were real. That's the Stoic definition of greatness. To live in such a way that when your words are gone, your example still speaks. So when the world tries to drag you into its chaos, when people argue for attention or twist truth for applause, remember, you don't have to join the noise to make a difference. You can step back, observe, act when it matters. Let others compete for recognition. You compete only with yourself. Let others chase followers. You chase wisdom. Let others seek to be remembered. You seek to be respected. And at the end of it all, when you stand alone with your thoughts, that's when you'll know the truth. You don't need the world to remember your name. You only need to remember who you are. Because the final victory of a Stoic soul is not admiration, it's self-respect. The applause will fade. The noise will die. But the quiet peace of a disciplined mind that stays. And that, my friend, is the greatest success you'll ever know. A life that speaks without shouting. A legacy built in silence. And a soul that remains unshaken. At the end of all this, after the lessons, the philosophies, the reflections, it all comes down to one thing: self-mastery. Because in a chaotic world that you can't predict, you have only one constant: yourself. And if you don't learn to master that, the world will master you. Everywhere you look, people are waiting for life to get easier, for others to change, for the system to finally be fair. But the Stoic knows better. He doesn't wait for the storm to calm. He learns to stand steady in the rain. He doesn't waste time trying to control the uncontrollable. He aligns his thoughts, his values, and his choices. The moment you take full ownership of your inner world, the outer world loses its ability to enslave you. That's freedom, not the absence of hardship, but the presence of discipline. The Stoic doesn't talk about control as domination. He talks about alignment, becoming one with what is. When the world is loud, he listens inward. When people rush, he moves with intention. When chaos rises, he anchors himself in clarity. Because control doesn't begin out there, it begins within. That's the first Stoic truth. You can't command the wind, but you can adjust your sail. You can't change every outcome, but you can choose your attitude toward each one. And that small shift, that single decision to govern your mind instead of your circumstances, changes everything. The second truth: wealth is peace of mind. You can have a mansion and still feel empty. You can have a quiet room and still feel rich. Because wealth isn't the size of your possessions, it's the size of your inner stability. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Modern life sells us a lie that happiness is something to earn, buy, or collect. But peace can't be purchased. It must be practiced. It's built every time you choose honesty over popularity, patience over impulse, gratitude over greed. You become truly wealthy when your peace no longer depends on things that can be taken from you. The Stoic doesn't chase luxury. He cultivates simplicity. He builds a fortune of the mind, one made of calm, clarity, and courage. And when the world collapses, that's the kind of wealth that doesn't burn. Then comes the third truth, the one most people resist. The obstacle is the path. We've been taught to see difficulty as an interruption, as something that blocks progress. But the Stoics flip that idea upside down. To them, the obstacle isn't in the way, it is the way. Every challenge you face is an invitation to grow. Every setback trains a virtue, patience. Every disappointment becomes raw material for wisdom. Marcus Aurelius said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." And he didn't say that from comfort. He said it while leading Rome through war, betrayal, and plague. He knew the secret we keep forgetting. The fire that burns you can also forge you. The question isn't, why is this happening to me? It's, what strength is this moment trying to build in me? Once you learn to ask that, nothing can truly defeat you. So what does it mean to live as a Stoic today in a world of noise, distraction, and endless comparison? It means you don't just know these ideas, you practice them. You wake up each morning and remember, control begins within. Wealth is peace of mind. The obstacle is the path. You treat life like a training ground. Every situation becomes a test of your discipline. Every emotion becomes a lesson in self-command. Every obstacle becomes a mirror reflecting who you truly are. You act where you have power. You accept where you do not. And in doing so, you reclaim something the modern world has lost: your sovereignty. Because Stoicism isn't about detachment, it's about presence. It's not about being emotionless, it's about being anchored. It's not about withdrawing from life. It's about engaging with it wisely, fully, courageously. To live as a Stoic is to be both gentle and fierce, to be unshaken, not because life is kind, but because you are strong, to walk quietly, yet leave deep footprints behind. You don't need the world to praise you. You don't need everyone to agree with you. You just need to be at peace when you look in the mirror, knowing you've lived with integrity. That is the ultimate victory. That is freedom in its purest form. So as this journey comes to a close, remember these three phrases, not as quotes to repeat, but as principles to live. Control begins within. Wealth is peace of mind. The obstacle is the path. Live them, and you'll stop being a passenger in your own life. You'll become the captain, calm, steady, and unshakable, no matter how rough the waters get. Because in the end, the Stoic doesn't seek to control the world. He seeks to master himself. And once you've done that, no storm can touch you.